Okay. Let me show you, there's a couple of options that are available to us for time cards. So once I've found my work order record, and if you want to log time against a job in here's what you would do. Once you find the work order, remember, we have the search screen at the bottom right corner, so you can just type in some or all of the numbers down below in the bottom right corner. Once you've found the record, what you're going to want to do is go to the phase 001, or whatever the phase number is. Typically, there'll be a 001 at least. So there are some options here. Let me show you some options available to us. All right. If I want to log time against this particular job, notice in the upper left-hand corner of the phase screen, there is a shortcut to a time card. So while you're editing or updating the work order phase, you can also log time on the work order. So simply click the time card label underneath the action bar at the top left corner. Click time card, and it launches the rapid time card entry screen. Now, the advantage of doing this from the work order phase is, if you'll notice, the work order phase number that we clicked add time card from is already populated. All I have to do, see, there's my work order and my phase number. So all I have to do is put in the work date, and I'll just choose today, and I'll choose a shop person from my list. In this case, I'm just going to pick somebody here as Asset Works Custodial. That sounds good. So I'll choose this person and see if I have some time types and labor classes. And action taken, start and stop times. I want to put in my start time. I'll use now. And actually, you know what, let's do this. Actually, I want to change this to 8 a.m.
Yeah,
In my time. Now, remember, up here at the top, you've got your template information. So once I filled out the information and I put in my time, or in this case I can put in hours in this one, all right, then all I have to do is click save. In this case, I just got a message that says, hey, I wasn't assigned to that work order. That's okay. I'll click yes. And let's see, what did it not like? Okay. Well, I would have had to have chosen the proper persons for that particular work order that I selected, which I selected at random, so my apologies. However, I just want you to know that once the information, the work order phase comes over, you would be the one that's assigned. So choose your work date and select yourself, and choose the time type labor class, put in the number of hours, and remember the top portion is just a template. So you can always, once the template shows up, you can always click add, and what it does is it adds a line down below. Then once that line is started, then you could put in your work date, yourself as a shop person, and then the time type labor class, and the number of hours that you worked on the job, and then it's just a matter of clicking the save button up here in the top left, and that adds a time card line item for you for that work date. Okay? Any questions about that process? Let me do this. We'll try it. We'll do it one more time. I'm going to go here to my time card. So notice this is your template information. So basically, it's going to take this. So what you've got to do is, if you click add, it creates the line that it's going to write to your time cards. So you've got to select your work date, whatever date it is, who you are, your shop person code. Once the shop person's selected, it'll typically default to time type labor class, and then you put in your hours that were that you worked on the job. Okay. Once that's done, once you've filled out this line of information, click save. Again, I just picked it at random, so I don't recall who was assigned, but you would be the one that are assigned because it's the work order number off of your IDES. And then click save, and it's going to create the time card entry for you right from the work order phase screen. Any questions about that process? Find time card.
The start and the stop time, that isn't going to be saved, that's just to help figure out how many hours?
Well, so what happens is AIM has, depending upon how your organization set this up, AIM has the ability to either collect raw hours, i.e. 1.5 hours or whatever, or it has the ability to select start and stop times. Do you guys, when you put in time cards in AIM, do you typically use start and stop, or do you put in just the number of hours?
Just the number of hours.
Just the number of hours, okay.
Yeah, for 15-minute increments.
Yes, okay. So, right, so 0.25s and off you get. So, right, so, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, good question. So the start and stop times, AIM has the ability to track either. So therefore, this screen, even though it shows it, you guys won't use it. If you'll notice, when I clicked add, here, that blue add button, notice start and stop time didn't come over. That's because it knows that your organization, for your time type labor class combination, only uses hours. So just put in your hours, just like you do now. Don't worry about the stop and start. Remember, this first line is just a template line. You have to click the add button over here in the top right hand corner to get up a line. So typically what I would do is I would go ahead once I click the time card and this screen, this line, first line comes up, what I would do is just click add, fill out the rest of this line, the second line, not the top one, but the second line. Fill out the second line, then click save, and you'll be fine. Okay, so what I mean by that, right? So what I mean by that is click time card, this comes up, click add, and then fill out this all the fields, or as many of the fields as is necessary on that second line, including the number of hours in 0.25 increments. Once you've filled that out, click save, and it'll add the time card, or it'll add this entry to the time card for that day. Okay. So that's a nice, quick way. And again, the nice thing about doing it from the work order phase is it knows what the work order phase number already, and it already pre-adds it to the time card for you. All you got to do is pick the date, who I am, and the number of hours worked, save it, boom, you're done. It's pretty quick. The other alternative is to, Irma, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new tab here. If I go, the other alternative in AIM is to go through the time and attendance and run through the full time card entry screen. Do you guys use the full time card entry screen?
Some do, some don't. A majority of the shop trucks use the phone. In order to use this screen, you would need to have the work order number already known.
Right. So my suggestion would be, if you know what the work order number is, which you will because you'll have your phone, right? Just go into this screen, go into the work order screen, and do your search by work order number, find the record, navigate to the phase, and make your updates to the phases, to the phase status, add your notes, your related documents, go through the exercises we just went through. Then select time card, and then you can put in your time card if you haven't done that already through the iDesk application. But if you need to go in there and add some line information or add some time information, you can do that right there from the time card or from the work order phase. Pardon. Irma, or any of the folks on the other end of the line, any other questions that you wanted me to look at or review with you related to the work order and the phase screens?
We have one question. What's the question?
Now this, what you're doing is basically off the computer, right?
Right.
Okay. Say for instance that you had, some related documents that you keep on the phone, how can you translate from the phone to the computer so when you go to the computer you can figure it out?
We would have to, that's another session. We're gonna concentrate on the work desk right now. We'll go through that, but not today. Ken?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you go through the time card screen the long way, just one time?
Oh, yes, ma'am. By all means, certainly. Right. So, so Irma, so as far as the question, the related documents, I'm sure that Stephen showed you the process for taking pictures with the iPhone and then attaching it to the work order phase.
Yes, and we've
Okay.
yet to receive that video link, but as soon as we do, we'll share it with Amos, who was not here yesterday.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Yes. Wonderful. Right. So the answer is in that video because it walks you through. In fact, the nice thing is it attaches it once you take the picture and attach it to your via the iDesk. It'll actually already show up as a related document on the work order phase that you took the picture for. And so the video will show you how to put your related document right here on the phase that we used. All right, so time card entry. So let's walk through the long process, as it were. Give me a link here, please. Here. Interesting. All right, so from the main menu system, right? So remember, click the AIM icon over on the right-hand side to get back to that main menu system. So Irma would like us to look at the full process. So if I go to time and attendance, that's going to bring me up a list of menu items here. Time cards, rapid time cards. The rapid time card entry screen is actually the same one that the load time cards from the phase uses. If you guys notice, this is the same screen from the time card link on the work order phase. Okay? So this is the screen you get on the work order phase. The advantage of doing it from the work order phases, work order and phase fields are already filled out for us. Sorry, trying to highlight those two. Work order and phase fields are already filled out with that work order number. If you do it from the time card side, you have to put in the work order number and the phase yourself. Okay? So if I go back to here, so let's go to time card. So this will be the full time card process. So as an example, if I go to, if I use this screen, all right, and I click new in the upper right hand corner, click the new button, it's blue, notice I get a description. So I can type in a description. It's not required, but again, your business process rules will determine what needs to go in there. Then you have the shop person and the work date. So these are very important. If you select your shop person code,
You can
from
choose
this
any.
list.
You can choose any one of those names.
Okay, very good. So Irma, can we choose you?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll choose Irma, and then we'll select the work date. Now the work date's very important. This, again, this is the date that the work was performed, right? So if we're putting in time cards for today, that's fine. Then select today's date. Now, just real quick, you can click the click that calendar icon there, which just like you did in AIM 7.x version. And also, just want to make sure everybody understands. There's a labeled underneath the date labeled today. If you click the word today, it'll actually put in today's date. You can pick the date out of the calendar, but you can also pick the word today, and it loads the current date in there. Okay? So basically, we've just filled out what's called the header or the top of the time card. All the other information is down below at the line item level. So you put in your name, shop person, or your shop person ID, and the work date. Okay? Once that's entered, then I go over to the right-hand margin. Notice there's a blue label or a blue button labeled Add. If I click Add, it's going to create, it's going to launch a new screen for the details of the time card. So in this case, we've selected Irma as an example for the shop person. Notice it knows her time type and labor class codes, just like everybody else's Raytheon standard, right? So there's another description field. Again, you guys decide, is it necessary to put a description at the line item or in the header or both? And you'll get some guidance from that or whatever process you've been using in the past. Next is the work order field. Now again, typically you're going to have your iDesk or your iDesk application on your iPhone. So if you want to know which work order to pick, again, do the same thing that you did on that work order search. Type in some of the work order number. Okay? You don't have to put in the full string, but put in some of the work order number. Then click Zoom, and it's going to bring back all the work order numbers that match. Well, they didn't do that for me that time, but I don't recall why. So I'm looking for 276. Here we go. 276. Do some work. So if I select that on my work order here, it'll populate the phase for me. Then in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to put in the number of hours worked on the job. So again, in 15-minute increments. So I'll put 1.25. Okay. Now, if I need to put in more than one line, in other words, I worked on multiple jobs for the day, which would be the typical case, I'm sure. So if you want to log time on multiple work orders in AIM, fill out this field, or this screen rather, and then in the upper left-hand corner, there are some buttons up here, Done, Add, and Cancel. If you click Add while you're on this screen, it's going to open up another screen. Again, in my case, I apologize, because it wants to make, we've configured AIM for your case to make sure that the work order number is attached to that shop person. So you need, AIM is enforcing that. And it will be in your case since you're working off of your iDesk applications. It won't show up on your iDesk application if it's not already assigned to you. So after you fill out this portion of the screen, if you need to make more, if you need to add more lines, click Add and just repeat the process. Once you've completed the number of lines that you need, okay, you'll click Done. I'm going to click Cancel, but you'll click Done, and it's going to take you back to this screen, and it's going to have a list of line items down below listing the jobs that you worked on and the total hours. Notice you have your hours listed right here. Here's your total hours. It's in the middle of the screen. It's going to show the total hours that came from a list of the line items. So if I click, I'm going to click Cancel on this real quick, and I'm going to search for my time cards that are already in the system. Here's Irma, and here's one that she already submitted, and it's already been posted. So here's a time card for Irma that was previously entered. In this case, it was an hour in example. But typically, there would be multiple lines that would account for the jobs that were worked on. Okay. So now there's two really important things to note about the time cards. Make sure if you're inputting a time card for a date and the time card already exists, you got to make sure and you got to find that existing time card and add line items to the bottom. So sometimes you'll need to find those records. The other thing is that if a time card has already been posted, and I know whether it's been posted or not, if I look at the upper right-hand corner, there's a status field, and there's two options, or there's two conditions of a time card. It's either posted or not posted. If it's not posted, then additional lines or additional line items for the time card can be added. So the time card can be updated to add more lines. But if it is posted, then that time card in AIM gets locked down. Now, changes can be made. It requires a time card adjustment. Irma, is that something these folks do, is time card adjustments?
No, let me interject here for a second.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If your time card is posted and you need to add or delete work orders and labor hours to it, you have to go to your supervisor. They'll be trained to do a time card adjustment. However, if they're not comfortable doing that yet, you'd have to go to a work management center staff person to do it. And then secondly, you also may encounter problems if you're trying to post time to a phase that's in complete status. So that would require for you to change the status of it back to either new or assigned, do your time, and then change it back to complete. If the time card is not posted, like in this record, it's not posted, it says it there, you know that you've been adding time to your time card, you can delete entries and add entries as long as it's not posted. Once it's posted or once that phase is in complete status, you'll have additional steps that you'll have to take. Another thing about this, you're learning this a long way because this is the way that you have to do it when you're entering time for estimates. You need to change this regular to estimate, and you also do it this way if you're putting in your time for leave. Because you need to change regular to leave. That's why you're learning this entry. Because this is the screen that you need to do those two different requests for estimate and leave requests.
I got a question.
What's up?
If we do put the leave in there, and they give us the leave number for today, give us a
Right.
number for that,
Mhm.
should it change from regular to leave?
No, you have to change it yourself.
Even though you're using the number?
Yes, you have to change it yourself. That's why it's good to know how to use the screen. You have to come in here on the day that you're off, use the leave request number and change regular to leave and then save it with however many hours you're posting to it. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours. If you have an estimate, you have to come in here and change regular to estimate. Enter that phase, but not everybody was doing it.
Okay.
I think only John and Derek are doing that. So, the rest of you need to remember these steps. Continue, Ken.
Okay, thank you. So, right, so, thank you, Irma. So, now, the place that you'll still use your time card line item screen. Notice your shop person code will be here. Here are the work order and phase numbers, so whatever those are, and you can type some of that in or zoom and pick it from a list either way. But, as Irma mentioned, the time type is gonna be crucial and very important for you guys because when I zoom my time type, that's where my regular overtime leave and estimated time type show up. So choose the appropriate time type from the list. Okay?
Sometimes we use overtime in a chargeback situation, like the one scenario that comes to mind is electrical shop. Sometimes the plumbing shop, they have to come in here Saturdays or after hours to work in the kitchen when it's closed. And you make sure you get the information from the supervisor, because if it's an after hours repair, we may charge them overtime rate for it. You'd have to ask your supervisor to see if that's the case. It just depends on the situation and the request that may happen, that we would need to charge back the overtime rate. Go ahead, Ken. Thank you.
So here's our list of time type options. I got that list by finding the time type field and then zooming. So that's how I get my list. Regular overtime, leave, estimate. So you guys have rules for which ones to pick to get the list. Simply zoom it and click on the item on the proper label. If when you're choosing your time type labor guest, even if it's leave, you're still going to have to pick a work order phase. So, or I'm assuming then if leave is selected as a time type, there will be a standing work order phase number that they can use to log their time on.
You are correct, Ken. We do have a standing work order.
Fantastic. So you guys probably have that posted in the shops or aware of that work order number. Type it in that field, zoom it, pick it, and then you'll be fine. Remember, then the last thing you'll want to do is put in the actual hours that you worked for this particular line. So, and it's important to remember that you may have worked your 8 hours, but you may have worked that 8 hours across multiple jobs. If you did that, all you've got to do is put in the hours that you worked and the proper time type labor class, put in your work order phase information, and click add, and it will give you a new screen just like this, except you'll have to go in and select the proper time type labor class if it's different than the default, which jobs you worked on, and the hours for that job. So the hours are job specific, not total hours. AIM will total those hours for you on this screen and display the total hours here in the middle of the top portion of the screen. Those total hours come from the hours worked for each line item, which is by job. All right. So if it's not yet posted, you can go in, find that existing time card and add lines to them. Now, if you try to create a new time card, so for instance, let's see, this one's not posted, and let's say I'm going to add a time card for this shop person. Okay. And it's not posted, and it's for July 31st. So I click cancel, and I click new, and I use this person, and I choose July 31st, 2014 as an example. All right, and if I go to add line items, notice you may get this message, and it reads, this record already exists. All the system is telling you is that, hey, you know what, for this person, the time card for July 31, 2014 already exists. So what that tells you is, rather than continue with the process, you'll need to find that existing time card and add new line items down below through the add. You find that original time card and then click add to create new lines or update and add new lines for new hours worked on whatever jobs. Okay? So this isn't necessarily bad, it just means, hey, there's already one in there. So AIM is very specific about time because AIM only permits one time card per person per work date. Okay? If it already exists and it's posted, you have to do an adjustment, so contact your supervisors or the work control center. If it isn't posted, you can find well, post or not, you can find the time card. If it's posted, then you need to make adjustments. If it's not posted, then it can be edited and additional time logged down below at the line item level. You can also, if the time card exists, you can use what's called the rapid time card screen, which is the screen that we saw from the work order phase, if you guys recall. If I go back to if we go back here, go to work management, go to my work order 276. All right, if I go to my phase and I select time card and I use this screen, this is the rapid time card. We just saw this in the other in time management. even if the time card exists, and I use this screen to add a new line, AIM is perfectly happy. It'll just append this information on this screen to the existing time card, assuming the existing time card has not yet been posted. Okay? So, I don't want to confuse you or throw too much at you, but this screen, it will continue to create new lines on the time card screen until the time card gets posted, and then it gets locked down, then the time card adjustment's needed.
Got it.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Irma, okay, so, let's see, I believe, okay, so I think we looked at notes logs, we looked at related documents, creating and adding. We looked at time cards and the rapid time card. Irma, one thing I would suggest that we do is in this afternoon when we have some discussions and we talk about the work desk channels and whatnot, I would also suggest that we add a quick link to a work desk channel for quick links to time cards as well. And so we'll go through that this afternoon. So work orders, time cards, those are good quick link candidates.
Okay, I'm going to decide now about that.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much.
I think we're done with this group, Ken.
Okay. We had, let's see, now, I think in the email, you had mentioned customer request.